Castles of Burgundy is a 2 to 4 player game where players compete to make the most point-worthy estate using hexagons.
There are castle hexagons, building hexagons, mine hexagons, boat hexagons, animal hexagons, and yellow.
You can't just place these hexagons at will, though. This is Castles of Burgundy, not Castles of Anarchy. Or Anarchy of Burgundy? You roll dice.
On a given turn in Castles of Burgundy, all players will roll their dice and then use those die to do 2 actions in a turn. They can buy something from the central board to place in their queue. You can move something from your queue into your estate. You can ship goods to make some rocks. Money? Money rocks.
These rolls are the lifeblood of a turn in Castles of Burgundy. It determines absolutely everything. The only thing it doesn't determine is what goods you're allowed to pick up from the ports. But as any maritime lawyer will tell you,
the Multicolored Good Act of 1500 states, any orange, teal, brown, red, or purple books can be taken by whomever shall pass it once it is off the boat. Yes, quite.
Now I hear you. If this game is mostly determined by dice roll, what do I do if I start rolling poorly? That's when we start talking about a way to make your dice rolls a bit more favorable by using workers.
Rolled a 6 and needed a 2? Just spend a couple of workers and you are well on your way to either a 2 or a 4. The possibilities are practically endless when you use a worker.
Seems too easy, right? Roll 2 dice, do 2 things. I get it, it's not that hard. And it's not at first. Your first turn could look something like this.
Alright, so I got a 4 and a 2. I could get a bank and place it, or I could get a castle and some cows and build them on my next turn, or I could sell some goods for some money rocks and then get a boat with the 2 of them and then sail and pick up all the goods from the 5 port.
But as choices start to get harder, turn 5's gonna look a little more like...
Okay, double 6s. Alright, let's see what's available to buy in the sit. Nothing. Okay, no problem. I will just build one of my build... but I don't have any 6 spots open. Okay, I'll just change my number to and I'm out of workers.
There's a good degree of planning that goes into every turn. You know, do I spend my resources now, or do I wait till later to make sure that those turns aren't wasted? This also isn't a game for everybody. There's not a lot of interaction you have with the other people around the table. The only real interaction you have with them is determining the turn order based on who built more boats. And you get to move up, and then that's the person who goes first. But otherwise, it's really just you playing on your estate. That's fine if you're playing with people who aren't big fans of conflict. But the game isn't fast. It takes a while. So you have to make sure that the lack of conflict isn't going to bore the people you're playing with. One thing I do appreciate about Castles of Burgundy is that doesn't really have a bad time player. And the bad time player is somebody who in Settlers of Catan just never got any resources. Or in Machi Koro, they just never got to spend their money before it was stolen from them. Despite being almost entirely based around dice, luck doesn't really feel like it plays a major factor in who wins or loses a turn or a round necessarily of Castles of Burgundy. You have enough agency over your actions that any bad turn you have is really a result of your own mistakes. It's also not a pretty game. The hexagons are all kind of boring, and sometimes the symbols are borderline meaningless, especially on the yellow tiles. They really don't make a whole lot of sense. Sometimes it takes a while to get used to it. But that said, there is a great game in here. There's a reason why it's usually so highly ranked among board games and listed as a favorite. There is a lot of strategy here and a lot of depth that you can find. The last minor complaint that I have is the initial setup, especially the very first time you open the game, can be a real bear. Like, for example, this is a really thick, long rulebook for a game that's really just roll 2 dice, do 2 actions. My advice is save yourself some time. Invest in some small little plastic bags to put all the pieces in so you can organize them a bit better later. You're still going to find some problems, like the fact that these tiles look almost identical, but don't belong in the same place. I've played this with a lot of different people now at this point, taught it to a lot of different people, and I've never met anybody who had a bad time playing it, and I think that's very important. Overall, I highly recommend Castles of Burgundy. It may not be the most eye-grabbing game, but it's definitely worth a spot on your shelf. Okay, bye!